Chapter 28. A Walk Through Darkness. Third light day of Cantal, 819. 11 days until Sown. Catel doesn't slow for any reason. No matter how uneven the path, she's unperturbed. If I had time to think, no doubt I would have been panicked. We've been going steadily down for quite a while. She comes to a fork in the featureless corridor, and she hesitates, as if to consider her options. She frowns at me. Hedrid always says that we must show off the best of our realm to you sun-starers, lest you remain ignorant of all the Earth Mother's beauty. She chooses the left path. This room is called the Needles, and it is a place of delicate beauty, laid down in stone over the ages. A steady drip of water into a pool can be heard from the left. Any sound other than my footsteps is a welcome treat. Water drips on me from above. I look to Catel in confusion. She raises her reed light high, and majestic stone fingers above come forth from the shadows. Moisture bleeds right through the rock, and it runs down hundreds of needles to this chamber. One drop after another creates circular waves on the pool's surface. I am awestruck by this place. The problems of men to the gods are as the tiny ripples to this pool, Catel says. Usually people breathe with their mouth closed. You wouldn't want a bat to take up residence in that gaping maw. It's beautiful. It is, but remember, you're in a hurry. She turns and walks past the needles at a clipped pace. Worried that she won't wait, I reluctantly hurry past the hallowed place. She leads me through an endless number of nondescript grey passages before emerging at someone's quarters. She takes off her pack and rummages through it. Here it is. She takes out a flat rectangular rock and inspects it closely. Good. Still flat on top and bottom. She walks up to several stacks of rocks and stares before choosing the leftmost stack. Catel waves me over and gives me her rushlight. The rock is placed 2/3 of the way up the pyramidal stack. She smiles. I collect perfectly flat-faced rocks and I stack them by mineral type. Oh, that's so very interesting. Still engrossed in her rocks, she misses my sarcasm. Is this the way to the exit? I ask. Really? A girl takes you to her bedroom and all you can think about is leaving? I make several attempts at speech, but fail miserably. She smiles viciously at me. Relax, you're not my type, she says. I like men who care about others. Catel takes a thick wool mantle from a peg and wraps it around herself. She closes it tightly around her with a wooden cloak pin. This will keep the chill away. She looks at me. You really should have brought a mantle of your own, she says offhandedly, before grabbing her rushlight from me and exiting. Let's get moving. We pass through several tunnels that I think we've passed through before, but I can't be certain. They're all dark, lifeless things. She stops and motions me forward. I've decided to take us over the stone arch bridge, then past the dragon's ribs and the stone curtain. I can call my friends in the great meeting room to come meet us. Come take a look at the bridge, and then put the torch out. I join her at the entrance of the next cavern, and there are enormous rock cones hanging from the ceiling and reaching toward their upward-facing counterparts. 100-year-old oak tree could fit inside this place. Between them is a rounded bridge cutting through the forest of stone. See, the path is straight. So put out that torch, and 61 steps later, you will be on the other side. Oops, that's 61 of my steps. I'm not sure how many it will take you. Just keep walking straight until you hit the wall, then you'll be safely across. Keep darkness from your thoughts. What? You're supposed to reply, the absence of light is nothing to fear. I must have heard wrong. Why would I put the torch out? Because I'm deathly afraid of heights. If I look down, I'll lose my balance and fall. You have to put the torch out. I can't risk it. Hold on, I say. Do you have a flint that I can use to relight this? Don't be stupid. After the bridge, you'll be fine as long as you remember to duck before you run into the stone curtain. I don't think you understand, I say. I can't walk across that bridge in the dark. It's not even as wide as my shoulders. Well, I can't walk across it in the light. She's adamant. We stare at each other, waiting for someone to give. You have to go back down the passage, past the last bend in the tunnel. After I'm across, I'll call you, and you can try not to lose your balance while staring at certain death below you. Thanks for that. I retrace my steps and wonder if she will wait for me once she's across. For better or for worse, I've put my trust in her. My mind imagines every possible disaster scenario as I await her call. Did she abandon me? I start breathing heavily, wondering what I will do next. I could die down here and never be found, and that's true even after I cross that death bridge. Whether she's across it or not, I can't wait any longer. The cavern is even more massive, and the bridge even more narrow than I remember. I was wondering if you decided to take a nap or something, Catel calls. Remember the part about you telling me when you're across? Will you hurry up and get across? Or full? As long as it's quick, she adds in a whisper. The echoes are amazing in this chamber. I can hear you very clearly, I say. Catel studies the stone columns, unconcerned. Normally, I have excellent balance. As I walk, I brace myself for whichever way the wind might blow, only to remind myself that there is no breeze down here. My hair is sticking to my face, but I'm too afraid to shake my head and remove the sweat. I lower my head down even lower so the sweat won't roll into my eyes. I focus on my breathing and take it one step at a time. Catel is kicking pebbles over the ledge and down the chasm as she waits for me. I dare not take my eyes off the bridge. After a couple of breaths, I hear the pebbles land somewhere far, far below. My chest starts to tighten. I close my eyes and find my center. I take several ragged breaths before I can continue my slow but sure pace. Finally, Catel says, exasperated. If I weren't completely beholden to her, I would cause great harm to this silly druid. Let's keep moving, she says. I wipe the sweat from my face and follow with failing patience. When acolytes are first brought down to the Earth Mother's world, we take them past the dragon's ribs and tell them how the gorge was formed when the last two dragons laid down next to each other and willed themselves to become stone. Here is the proof. She extends her arms, and I see 20 stone ribs protruding along the wall. It's all nonsense, of course. There's no such thing as dragons, but it's a good way to get their attention. Around the next corner is the stone curtain. Catel ducks slightly and avoids the collision. The ribbon of stone hangs down below my shoulders and around a blind turn. She wanted me to make sure to duck when I came upon this without my torch. I choke down my comments and continue to follow. Hello, it is Catel who approaches, she calls. I bid good tidings to all. Her voice echoes throughout the caves. We don't want to be seen as inconsiderate, she says to me in a low whisper. We wait in silence for a response. Finally, Catel waves for me to follow her. Normally, someone would have to come out to greet us. The echoes here are all funneled to the great meeting room. Because the walls bounce sounds back into the meeting hall, it is hard to hear anything coming from there. That's why we call, and they come to greet us. Except now no one is coming, I say. The great room is never empty. Catel signals me once again to follow her. We find the great meeting room, and it's deserted. Only a single torch remains lit. On closer inspection, the rest are all warm to the touch. We frown at each other and check to make sure we haven't missed some telltale sign. A booming voice enters the room. You must leave us. Lord Hedrid, where are you? And you have brought the pariah within our midst. We will not choose sides in this dispute. You must take him away from here. Only then can you rejoin us. Even in the dim light, I can see her eyes tearing up. I would be happy to leave this dark, hostile place. Please, show me the way out, I say to Catel. She sets her jaw and says, "Follow me." Her pace is even more brutal than before. As the tunnels branch, she always chooses the path heading lower. Truly, the weight of the world is upon me, and it's only getting heavier. "Where are you going?" "To get answers." Ahead, there are lights flickering off the walls of the tunnel. We enter the chamber, and it is ablaze with a dozen oil-soaked cattails. "I knew you would be here," Catel says. The diminutive Lord Hedred stands up straight. "Catel, did I not make myself clear?" "Lord Hedred, there is much that I need to tell you. Seifra is lost to us." Her jaw starts to quiver, and she's unable to say more. "Seifra is dead?" Startled, he looks at Catel, then me. "He is not dead," I say. "He turned into a puffin, and Lord Egan has been unable to get him to turn back to his human self." "A puffin, you say?" He stares up at the cracks running along the ceiling. "If there is anyone who can help him, it will be Egan. He's a very kind and patient man." "How long has he been in that form?" 13 days, Catel blurts. Hedred shakes his head as he inspects the floor. He approaches Catel, reaches up and rests his arm on her shoulder. She lowers her head into his chest to muffle her sobs. He looks up at me. "Perhaps you should tell me what has happened." Lord Hedred is quiet for a time. He absently strokes Catel's hair before turning his attention back to me. "I do not blame you for all of these troubles. No, I blame Boswin and his never-ending schemes. And I blame Loris for his greed. Be that as it may, Loris has sent druids down here looking for you twice already, so I shall not offer you any hospitality other than a quick exit. I hope you understand." "I do, Lord. Time grows short for me, so there is nothing else for which I would ask." He gently pries Catel's arms from around his chest. "Please, sit down for a bit, dear. After you show Grami out, come back here so that we may talk." She nods as she collapses into his seat. Lord Hedred invites me over to a different table. "Have you ever been in a scriptorium before?" "I have never heard of that word before. Is that what this place is?" "Catel and," he coughs, "have been searching the Isle for remnants of elvish and giant scripts. These scripts have power, if you know how to wield them." "Yes, Lord. Seifra," we both glance at Catel, "used several runes in the battle at Innis Witrin. All would have been lost, if not for him." He pats my chest several times. "If Boswin doesn't tear us all asunder, I hope we have the opportunity to speak again." He pats my hand affectionately. "Your face speaks clearly. You do not need words of encouragement from me." He pats my hand again, as if he were a father comforting an upset child. "Though I am Boswin's senior in years, I was his first pupil." His eyes brighten at my surprise. "I was a problem for the Druid lords all those years ago. The leading druids of Eriu and Prytani were once again trying to forge closer ties. It never seems to work, but every other generation fools themselves into thinking that this generation will get it right. It was agreed that they would swap a promising young student, and each would learn the other's ways. If I may say so, I've always had great skill in the druidic arts. However, it was dealing with people that I never could master. I imagine the elders on Eriu were rather pleased to send me off to Prytani. It was hard for me to find my place in this strange land." He leans against a shelf and strokes the topmost sheet of vellum. The sheet is filled with runes and small pictures. He holds it up to the light, and I can see fine scratches that were made without ink. "I was sent to several different druids to complete my training, and all of them parted ways with me." I smile, so I am not the only one who has had these troubles. "At the festival of Beltane, my teacher severed our relationship. The 9 were out of ideas. It is then that a young and brash Druid boasted that he could have me ready before the year's end. With only 6 months left, no one believed it could be done. So Boswin and I formed a partnership, and we showed each other the arts favoured on Eriu and Brittany. It was the most exhilarating time of my life. I looked directly at Lord Hedred. Learning under Boswin has been trying at times, I admit, but it has always been rewarding. But if that is the most exhilarating time of my life, I will die a disappointed man. He fondly taps the stack of vellum and chuckles. I was never cut out to be a staff-wielding Druid, changing into some bird and flying from one adventure to another. When I became a journeyman Druid, Boswin suggested I go underground and help the ailing Lord Alkan. Not 6 months later, Alkan passed on, and I became the youngest member of the 9. You became a member of the 9 after only 6 months? You must understand, Ogof Kaur has never been a popular assignment. The solitude suits me, though, and I have never regretted the choice. 6 months later, Boswin also joined the 9, and the Isle has never been the same. The cunning old man managed to steer me to the exit of his study while he spoke of bygone days. I believe our young friend here has collected herself enough that she can lead you to the exit now. Keep darkness from your thoughts, right, Hedred? Catel asks. The absence of light is nothing to fear, he responds, automatically. Catel wipes one last tear on her sleeve as she comes to us. Follow me. She leads me through more tunnels until my sense of direction is hopelessly confused. At last, we come to a small grotto with thick furs lying on the ground. I will come back and get you in the morning. Catel turns to go. Wait, didn't Hedred ask us to leave immediately? He did, but it's after nightfall, and I'm not prepared to leave quite yet. She slips back into the tunnels, and I'm left to grope in the dark.